Tell me how, tell me when did we get so far apart?
Even though we are far apart, we can always talk about music. Parker Millsap is in Nashville, that's a long way from Auckland, to talk about his new album, Wilderness Within You. It's a collection of songs where Parker explores the relationship between humanity and nature. Here's Parker to explain further.
I'm giving up on the ghost. I'm trying to be conscious.
Let's see, I started workshopping songs with the producer Ryan McFadden at his house. And just whenever we both had time, I would go over to his house, and usually I would play him a demo of a song, and then he would be like, "That's cool, but play it for me." He'd make me get a guitar and actually, play it for him in the room. And we worked through, there's 13 songs on the record, but there were about 40 songs in various states of completion that we listened to together and, discussed potential, avenues for getting them across the finish line. So yeah, we did that for a couple months, a few days at a time, and sometimes we would get as far as like making a demo at his home studio, and like building things around drum machines and samples, and then me playing and overdubbing, kind of all just me and him. And then after we kind of had figured out which songs were going to be on this record, or had narrowed it down to like 20 at least, we were like, okay, well, some of this feels like it wants a band, so, but I'd been listening to a lot of jazz records, and, reading stories about how a lot of, the best jazz records were just like really unplanned. It's just like, well, here's the chord chart, play it once through, and then there it is, kind of thing. And I wanted to kind of capture some of that immediacy, spontaneity. So Ryan was like, well, then let me hire the band. And it was like, I think, like 7 of the 8 guys that are on the record I had never met or played with before. It's just like we showed up and like played like, hey guys, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Like, let's go listen to a song, and like play the song down, and then go out in the live room and figure it out. And sometimes it was really quick, and sometimes it took us like trying songs a few different ways over a few days to figure it out. And then some of them we just kept the demo that we had made at Ryan's house. Ended up being like a real variety of things, but a good amount of it that we recorded at the studio with the band was cut like live in the room, largely without headphones, no click track, so that was really fun.
So it must be a little bit.
I think you can tell,
Was it a little intimidating for you to have all these musicians listening to your brand new songs that you had no relationship with at all? That they're going to sit there and judge.
Mostly it was fun because they were great musicians.
Oh, good.
And I trusted Ryan. And there's the depth of talent here in Nashville is kind of crazy. The amount of people, the amount of like insane musicians who live here is wild. So yeah, it was just really fun for me. And they were all supportive and seemed into the material, and were willing to, try different things, and not, get in our heads about, well, why isn't it working? It's like, well, we don't know. We just try something else now.
Gotcha. Now, tell me about the opening track, the greetings and thanks thing that you've got happening. That's pretty interesting.
Greetings and thanks to the earth and sea. Greetings and thanks to the herbs and trees, to the fishes and to the animals, to the birds and their songs. Now we are one.
So I read this book called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she is a Native American woman, and in the book she discusses, kind of growing up between two worlds. I think she refers to it as seeing with two eyes or something like that, where, one side of her is always seeing things from an indigenous perspective.
Right.
And the other side of her is, like a scientist, and very much grew up in a westernized world. So it was really impactful, that book. But in the book, she discusses this Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address, which is a tradition in the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which is a group of many different Native American tribes in the southeastern Great Lakes area. They have this tradition anytime they come together to make a big decision. They start with basically a prayer to the natural world, but they'll specifically call out specific trees, specific birds, specific winds, and everybody apparently, everybody kind of says it their own way. People emphasize the things that they care about more, etc.
Yep.
I just found it beautiful. And the kind of recurring theme throughout the thing is now we are one. And it's the idea is we're going to all get on the same page and recognize our place in the fabric of, the natural systems of the earth before we make any big decisions. I found that really inspiring, and wanted to put that idea at the forefront of the record.
Right. And it also permeates throughout the record, throughout the songs, the natural world, and your relationship with it, and our relationship with it. So, why and how did you decide to do that?
A lot of it just has to do with getting educated, kind of.
Right.
Not by going to school, but just reading some books, sure, but also following certain Instagram accounts that post gardening or invasive species, native species content, learning about the vast variety of species that exist. I just didn't know. And it's it's just it's endless. Right. And learning about how, and just learning how all the natural systems are connected. There's a whole bunch of books I read, there's podcasts, all this kind of, leading me to a place of wanting to learn how to live in harmony with natural systems rather than just fighting them all the time,
Right. And you even are using the sounds of waterfalls and thunderstorms and things with it as music in your songs.
Yeah. There's a few. I like to take voice memo field recordings anytime I think to do it, and there's an interesting sound and I can catch it. So there are quite a few jungle and forest noises and birds chirping.
Right.
And the last track, I'll Be Around, had a bunch of different recordings of water, some beaches, waves rolling in and out, some big rivers rushing by, some trickling waterfalls, some rushing waterfalls. And so I was I want to figure out how to put these in a song. And Ryan was okay, well, send them all to me. So I sent them to him, and he kind of layered them over one another and then accentuated certain frequency points to where it sounded like water but with a tone.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all these different recordings of water, but then it makes this kind of moving white noise, but then he would make it like a tone, and then we put that onto a keyboard that the keyboard player played. So it's he's playing, water sounds.
After the moon falls down into the ocean, and there's gonna be another new beginning. The wheels are gonna keep us spinning. Hey,
That's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned you got a bunch of unknown people playing, but there is one person on the record that we do know, Gillian Welch, who helped sing with you on Wilderness Within You. So tell me how you roped her into this project.
There's a wilderness within you, a coral reef inside your soul. There's a wilderness within you, and it's out of your control. So when I brought the song to Ryan, he was like, "Man, I think this could use a harmony on it." And I was like, well, what if we got Gillian Welch to do it? That was like the first name on the list. And it was like, okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Like, we wrote down a few other names, but I was like, let's see if we can reach Gillian first. And my now retired first manager, I don't remember if he managed or co-managed or day-to-day managed Gillian like some time ago and was involved with the Coney Records pretty heavily. So I reached out to him and was like, hey, do you think you could send this song to Gillian and see if she would sing on it? And she did. So she lives, like a few miles from the studio that we were recording at. So she drove over one day. And we just did it live. No headphones. It was really fun and easy.
Right. Cool. Now, one song I wanted to touch on is Half a World Away, which is a bit noisier than some of the other songs on the record. And it sounds like you got something to say there. What's it all about?
I think it's about, I guess, disconnection. All of the stuff that gets shipped around the world rather than finding some, local version of it. And like the forces that make that the case and what that does to communities and what that does to people's spirit. A lot of the song is really just questions. It's just questions that I have, well, how did we get here? How do we get somewhere better? Yeah.
Yep. And you just did a show in Nashville at the Basement East. So how did that go?
It was awesome. Yep. It was really, really great. Yeah. Great turnout. And it was actually the first time that I had played with that iteration of the band. I had a keyboard player and fiddle player that I've been playing with for a long time, but the drummer and bassist, we had never done a show together.
Right.
So the album release show was our first show in that incarnation.
No pressure.
And it was awesome. Yeah, right. No, we did a lot of rehearsal, hanging out and, making sure it all felt good beforehand, and then it went great. So yeah, it was really, really good.
Cool. So are you hitting the road now after the record's out, or what's the plan?
Yeah, in a couple weeks, I'm going out for a month. We're doing a West Coast U.S. tour, and then we'll be getting to the rest of America,
right? Like
later this year and early next year. So,
all righty, very good. All right, well, sometime you have to come down to this part of the world. And
I'll do it. It's a long plane ride.
It is a long
walk,
but it's all downhill.
I'll just start rolling.
Exactly. All righty. Well, thank you very, very much for sharing all of this with me. Yep. Great. Have a great day, and thank you very much.
Awesome.
We'll see you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.